Think manipulation requires elaborate schemes? Think again. The real trap starts with your most innocent words. Today, you'll discover how you're building chains nobody else can see, how your daily confessions create the perfect control map. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you casually mentioned what stresses you out, what keeps you up at night, or what makes you feel guilty? Seemed harmless, right? Just normal conversation. But here's what you didn't realize. You just handed over a detailed blueprint of exactly how to control you. Every time you share a personal struggle, even in passing, you're creating data points. And manipulators, they're data collectors. They don't need fancy psychology degrees. They just need to pay attention when you reveal that you hate disappointing people, or that you struggle with saying no, or that you feel responsible for others' emotions. Research from Cornell University found that people who frequently disclose personal anxieties are 73% more likely to comply with requests that specifically trigger those anxieties. Your casual confession about deadline stress becomes a weapon. Someone knows exactly when to create urgency, exactly when to make you feel like you're failing, exactly when to push. Here's the pattern you need to recognize. Those seemingly innocent questions. What's been bothering you lately? How do you handle conflict? What makes you feel appreciated? They sound like someone caring about you, but they're reconnaissance missions. Every answer you give is being filed away for future use. And the truly sinister part, they test their findings in real time. They'll create small scenarios that mirror your revealed triggers just to see how you react. If you mentioned you hate feeling excluded, watch how often everyone else already agreed suddenly becomes part of their pitch. If you admitted you feel guilty about self-care, notice how their needs always seem to conflict with your boundaries. You think you're building trust through openness. You're actually building a control panel with clearly labeled buttons. Each vulnerability you share becomes a lever someone else can pull whenever they need you to move in their direction. The worst part, you'll defend this dynamic, because in your mind, real connection requires vulnerability. And you're right, it does. But indiscriminate vulnerability isn't connection. It's self-sabotage dressed up as authenticity. Your openness becomes your cage, and you're the one who built it, bar by bar, with every honest answer you gave to the wrong person. How many times have your own words been used to make you feel guilty, anxious, or obligated? What happens when your self-image becomes someone else's script? Now, let's talk about something even more dangerous. The stories you tell about yourself. Not the deep, traumatic stuff. The everyday narratives. I'm the reliable one. I always follow through. I don't give up easily. These feel like strengths, and they are, until someone weaponizes them against you. Here's how it works. You identify yourself as dependable, right? You probably even take pride in it. But every time you reinforce that identity out loud, you're tightening invisible constraints around your own behavior. Because now, you're not just being reliable. You're performing reliability to maintain your self-image. A manipulator doesn't need to force you to do anything. They just need to create situations where saying no would contradict your stated identity. But you're always so reliable isn't a compliment. It's a trap. And you walk right into it, because backing out would mean admitting you're not who you said you were. Think about your hero stories. Those moments when you solved a crisis, saved the day, or pulled through when everyone else failed. Feels good to remember those, doesn't it? But here's the dark side. Manipulators listen for those stories like hawks. The moment you frame yourself as a problem solver, they know exactly how to position themselves. They become the problem that only you can solve. And suddenly, you're in over your head, sacrificing your time, energy, and resources, not because you genuinely want to help, but because walking away would shatter the hero identity you've built. You're not rescuing them. You're rescuing your self-concept. There's another layer to this. Those anecdotes you share in confidence, they can be selectively leaked, twisted, or reframed to isolate you from others. A manipulator takes fragments of your truth, adds their spin, and creates a narrative where you're the problem. And because parts of it are based on your actual words, you can't completely deny it. You end up defending yourself against a distorted version of your own story. Your future plans are equally dangerous territory. When you share your dreams, goals, or aspirations, you're revealing your motivation map. Manipulators align their agenda with your dreams, making it seem like you're building toward your future together. But you're not. You're building their dream while yours gets perpetually postponed. And because you've verbalized these goals so many times, you feel obligated to keep going even when every instinct screams to stop. Your identity was supposed to be your strength. Instead, it became the script someone else is directing, and you're just following along because deviating feels like losing yourself. Why your kindness is being catalogued as weakness. Let's get real about something nobody wants to admit. Your niceness is being studied, documented, and exploited. Every time you go out of your way to be helpful, accommodating, or understanding, someone is taking notes. And I don't mean they're appreciating you. I mean they're calculating exactly how far they can push. Here's what happens. You help someone once, and they thank you. Feels good. You help again. They're grateful. Still feels good. But by the third, fourth, fifth time, something shifts. The requests get bigger, the gratitude gets smaller, and somehow you become the go-to person for their problems, while your own needs sit on the back burner. This isn't accidental. According to research from Duke University, people who consistently demonstrate helping behavior without setting clear boundaries experience a 64% increase in requests over 6 months, while experiencing a 41% decrease in reciprocal help. Your kindness creates a one-way street, and you're stuck in permanent giving mode. But here's the truly insidious part. Your compliance is being categorized. When you say yes quickly, when you apologize unnecessarily, when you prioritize others' comfort over your own, you're being filed under easy target. Not consciously, maybe, but the pattern recognition is happening. And manipulators excel at pattern recognition. They notice when you soften your boundaries to avoid conflict. They notice when you over-explain your decisions as if you need permission. They notice when you accept blame for things that aren't your fault. Each of these behaviors gets logged as exploitable territory. The compliment trap is particularly effective here. Someone praises your helpfulness, your patience, your understanding nature. You feel seen and valued. But what they're actually doing is reinforcing the behavior they want more of. It's operant conditioning disguised as appreciation. And it works because we're wired to repeat behaviors that get positive feedback. Soon, you're not helping because you want to. You're helping because not helping would contradict the helpful person label you've accepted. Your kindness stops being a choice and becomes a performance you can't opt out of without feeling like you're betraying yourself. The question isn't whether you should be kind. The question is whether your kindness is being respected or exploited. And if you can't tell the difference anymore, that's your answer. Reflect. Has someone ever made you feel guilty for setting a boundary? After months of being the helpful one, hit like if this resonates and subscribe, because we're just getting started on breaking these patterns. How casual jokes are testing your tolerance for disrespect. Here's something you've probably missed. Those sarcastic comments and just kidding jokes aren't humor. They're tolerance tests. Every time someone makes a cutting remark and follows it with, "Relax, I'm joking," they're measuring something. They're measuring whether you'll defend yourself or swallow the disrespect. And here's the brutal truth. If you laugh it off or stay silent, you just gave permission for worse. That wasn't a joke. It was a probe. They're testing how much they can get away with before you push back. And the answer they got was apparently quite a lot. This is systematic boundary erosion. It starts small, a little jab here, a mildly offensive comment there. You let it slide because it seems petty to make a big deal out of it. But that's exactly the point. They're not trying to offend you massively right away. They're desensitizing you gradually, so that by the time the really toxic behavior shows up, you've already normalized accepting it. Think about those passive-aggressive questions. Are you sure you can handle that? Wow, I'm surprised you chose that. Interesting choice. They sound neutral, even concerned. But they're not. They're subtle attacks on your judgment, your competence, your decisions. And because they're wrapped in plausible deniability, you can't call them out without seeming oversensitive. So you internalize it. You start second-guessing yourself. You start seeking validation before making decisions. And boom, they've installed self-doubt without ever directly criticizing you. Your confidence erodes from the inside out, and you never saw the weapon because it was disguised as casual conversation. Now add your passive language to this equation. Every time you say, whatever, I don't care, or you decide, you're broadcasting that your preferences don't matter. To you, might feel like being easygoing. To a manipulator, it's a green light to completely disregard your needs. Your flexibility becomes your invisibility. Your accommodation becomes your erasure. And the worst part, you did this to yourself by consistently communicating that your voice doesn't need to be heard. They're just taking you at your word. The language you use doesn't just describe how you feel, it trains others how to treat you. And if your language consistently minimizes your own importance, don't be shocked when others start treating you as unimportant. What would change if you started noticing these patterns in real time instead of weeks later when the damage is done? How to rewrite your language and reclaim your power. So here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. Breaking free isn't about cutting people off or building walls. It's about becoming surgically precise with every word you speak. And your most powerful tool? Strategic silence. Stop filling every conversational gap. When someone asks an invasive question, you don't owe them an answer. Let the silence sit. Watch what happens. Manipulators hate silence because it forces them to reveal their hand. They'll push harder, ask again differently, maybe even guilt trip you for not responding. And that escalation? That's them showing you who they really are. Silence isn't rude, it's clarity. It separates people who respect your boundaries from people who want to cross them. Use it liberally. Now, let's talk about reciprocity. You need to fundamentally rewire how you think about giving. Generosity shouldn't come with unspoken obligations. Give because you choose, not because you fear disappointing someone, or because you need validation. And critically, give with explicit limits. I can help with this, but not that. No apologies, no justifications. Boundaries don't require permission. Here's your communication upgrade. First person, assertive statements. Instead of, you make me feel bad, say, feel disrespected when this happens. Instead of, maybe I could try, say, I will, or, I won't. Clear, direct, no room for misinterpretation. Your needs don't need a defense. They just need to be stated. Notice how manipulators crumble when faced with clarity. They thrive in ambiguity, in your hesitation, in your need to justify yourself. When you speak plainly and stand firm, their tactics become obvious. There's nothing to twist, nothing to reinterpret. And here's your final power move: selective vulnerability. Your struggles, fears, and wounds don't need to disappear. They need better gatekeepers. Share them only with people who've proven, through consistent action over time, that they're worthy of that trust. Don't hand your instruction manual to everyone who smiles at you. You built these chains word by word. You can dismantle them the same way. Every sentence is a choice between imprisonment and liberation. Choose consciously. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Reflect. Which automatic phrase are you going to eliminate starting today? Drop it below. Hit like to amplify this message, and subscribe, because the real transformation is just beginning.